The political drama unfolding in the last election race to be decided, and it's taking on right now a new twist. It's the race between Republican incumbent Senator Norm Coleman and Democrat Al Franken. Let's go to New York. CNN's Mary Snow has been watching this race for us. What's the latest, Mary?
Well, for the first time, Al Franken has taken the lead in this race. At last count, he had a 251-vote edge in an unofficial tally. It's being counted by the Minnesota Star-Tribune. But expect more drama. It's a nail-biter in slow motion. Former Saturday Night Live comedian Al Franken now leads Republican Senator Norm Coleman in an unofficial count in the Minnesota Senate race. But 1 month after a recount began in a contest that was too close to call, the maze of legal battles continues. The latest turn? The Coleman campaign wants the Minnesota Supreme Court to wade into the recount, saying there are ballots being double counted.
We now have a situation in perhaps a dozen precincts where we have significant numbers of votes that are going to be counted twice.
The Franken team disputes that.
There is a systematic effort by the Coleman campaign to prevent all the votes from being counted for one reason and one reason only, which is that they know that they are behind and that if all the votes are counted, they will lose this election.
But there are wild cards. Roughly 4,000 ballots were in a pile of challenges, but now they've been withdrawn. And then there's still a fight over roughly 1,600 rejected absentee ballots. One political observer says the race is far from over.
I think there's a chance the cherry blossoms in Washington will be blooming before we have a senator out of Minnesota.
Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty says he's looking into the possibility of appointing a temporary senator if the race isn't resolved by the start of the new Senate session in January. Pawlenty says he doesn't think it'll come to that, but political observer Larry Jacobs expects legal fights to stretch out the contest.
Lots of twists and turns in Minnesota. It's quite possible that Senator Coleman will move back on the lead, so stay tuned, get your bucket of popcorn, and get comfortable.
Now, officials will be working throughout the weekend, but the Minnesota Secretary of State cautions the process is nowhere close to being finalized. Wolf?
Wow. All right, Mary, thank you. The Minnesota Senate recount is certainly no laughing matter, but in the course of tallying all those ballots, there were some lighter moments, and they were all captured on video. Our internet reporter, Abby Tatton, is looking at some of them. Abby, what are you seeing?
Wolf, what do the flying spaghetti monster, Brett Favre, and lizard people have in common? Well, if you've been following this recount, you'll know that they've all been suggested as write-in candidates on Minnesota ballots, leading to some bizarre moments this week. In this video, you'll see that state canvassing board, together with the lawyers from both campaigns, debating whether lizard people could be a real person.
My argument would be that lizard people is not a genuine right. In other words, it's not a person.
Okay.
Therefore, shouldn't be considered under that rule.
Do we know that for sure?
If it said Moon Unit Zappa, would you say, oh no, there is no such person as Moon Unit Zappa? Thank you.
Actually, I would say that would be permissible.
Well, but you don't know that there's not someone named Lizard People. You don't.
Now, this debate went on for some minutes. They finally decided that this ballot that was for lizard people and Al Franken should be thrown out as an overvote. But it didn't matter for Franken because a few minutes later, he made it up when they voted that a vote for Al Frankenstein should be permissible. Wolf?
Abby, thanks very much. This is an interesting footnote. Let's look at the closest Senate race ever. In New Hampshire's 1975 general election, Republican Louis Wyman beat Democrat John Durkin by 355 votes on Election Day, and that sparked 2 recounts. In the first, the result flipped. The Democrat winning by 10 votes. Another flip after the second recount, the Republican winning by 2 votes. The Senate then stepped in, and after maneuverings, even it deadlocked. The candidates agreed to a new election, and almost a year after the first vote, the Democrat won by 27,000 votes. FBI agents who were